And we are live.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to Moonbeam Universe Gaming Edition. I'm Jim Farley, and I'm going to be moderating this session with some of the top teams in the Moonbeam ecosystem building fantastic games. So I've been really excited about this. I even brought my gaming headset, my Lucid Sound headset on vacation with me. And just let's kick it right off and with intros. So the first team, Tom from Dunkest, if you wouldn't mind just giving us a brief intro of your game and yourself, and we'll pass it on.
Sure, Jim. Hi, everyone. I'm Tom from DVD Lab, one of the co-founders, and we helped Fanta King to introduce in Dunkest their flagship fantasy game, a new game mode based on Web3 and NFTs in a, let's say, in this similar fashion of what did Sorare, but different purposes and implementation.
I am David Jones. I'm from the Dampire Society. We've been on Moonriver and Moonbeam since October, November 2021. We're sort of an idle style on-chain game, and basically we just do lots of transactions. We've got lots of different projects going on.
Yeah,
Oh, sorry.
Sorry, go ahead.
I'm Josh, core contributor at ZooDAO. So ZooDAO we started a long time ago, just trying to solve these two big problems that we found in the space. One of them is very obvious. It's the problem of NFT utility. What do I do with an NFT once I own it? What if the project that is working on my NFT fails, et cetera, et cetera? So we wanted to provide a universal solution to NFT utility. The second problem that we saw is that despite us all wanting the mainstream adoption of crypto and DeFi, very little has been done to gamify the process of interacting with these lucrative DeFi protocols. So enter ZooDAO. It's a no-loss yield farming game for NFTs where you can compete for the yield your opponent's crypto assets generates on the DeFi protocols that we build on. So yeah, gamifying DeFi yields.
Okay. My name is Deckard. I'm co-founder of Evrloot. The other co-founder is sitting to my right here in the office behind me on the couch. That's Lou. We are creating a dark fantasy game on Moonbeam that is very much focusing on fun gameplay loops and trying to learn a lot from existing games like World of Warcraft, Diablo, and as such. We have elements of point-and-click adventure, idle game mechanics, and trading economy. We try to copy the things that work from Web 2, but give it a Web 3 twist where we really store a lot of the progress of the character on the NFTs itself, and therefore we use the remark standard to do so. So for example, that you already carry your progression with you with the character. And we try to do all of that with a kind of immersive style. Yeah, we've been around for a year. We're in the progress of migrating from Kusama to Moonbeam. It's exciting times, and yeah, happy to be here. Thank you for inviting me.
Awesome. Thanks, guys. And I'm sure the audience appreciates that we have a great panel in all of you here to talk about Web3 gaming. So we're going to discuss a whole bunch of topics, NFTs, the metaverse. What is that now? We're going to talk about community building. But first, let's just jump into some play to earn gaming. So where does Web3 go from here? So if we think about one of the most popular games that had tremendous success in the past, Axie Infinity, one of the top play to earn games from 2021 to now. But something happened. It went from approximately 3 million active users to 250,000. So that's a big drop, and there's some macro things at play there. But if we focus on this play to earn gaming model, what do you guys think is really telling about the viability of play to earn with these usage drops? I mean, is there a story there about the viability of play to earn gaming, or is it just kind of something that will recover? Tom, let's throw this one to you.
Sure. So as you said, it's Axie open the path for play-to-earn games, and it should be a novelty, both in the gaming ecosystem and the blockchain and DeFi ecosystem, and sure it catch the interest of at least 3 million people. The drop in the user base, to me, what I imagine and what I pictured is that it was a novelty, and so many people experimented with it and tried to understand what was it and how it stick in the world, in the DeFi world and the gaming world, and eventually it doesn't really stick with the gaming ecosystem. So it's a mechanic, in my opinion, that didn't really it's not really that viable to making an earning, or at least not in the development country. And on the other hand, for gaming enthusiasts, I think it's not about gaining earning money while you're playing. It's about having fun, and so there is a clash between these two worlds, these two mechanics that didn't really blend, in my opinion. And once the novelty went away, also as the user base. On the other hand, I think that we learn, we as developers, as business owners, and as users, we learn a lot from this transition and these mechanics and phenomena, and it open new possibility for the upcoming future. I think blockchain technology is a technology, and we have to still figure it out how to use it properly. And as we can see, the adoption curve of many technologies that spikes after the initial and first implementation we've seen with AI, machine learning model, blockchain, and DeFi, and then it drops naturally drops when the enthusiasm and novelty goes away, and with time it's recover once all the ingredients are mixed correctly. And yeah, for the coming future, I think that play to earn will not remain as we saw in the past. It will change, and it will change not. I don't think it will remain really in the play to earn model, but it will transition in something more to play your favorite game, have fun, enjoy it, and once you're done with it, for many reasons, you can transition your assets to other games, or go back to try to retrieve part or at least all of your money investment, and transition to other game and exchange asset with other players, and make it easier to open between games you want to explore and you want to have fun with. And it will also open new mechanics, and go in depth with the economy of the world, creating a truly open economy also between worlds, gaming worlds, I mean. And I think, yeah, this will be the foreseeable future, and what at least what I think of it as I think of it. And this is one of the way in which we are targeting our way with Dunkest and with the games and the development we are currently working on with Fantaking and with DVD Lab.
Okay, that's actually really great insight. So, I guess if we're thinking about it being more of a novelty and that novelty is wearing off, so that model has to shift. So where do you think that model has to shift to? And I guess Deckard, I'll kick this one to you. Where do you think that model needs to shift to, and how our go-to-market strategy is going to change in light of what Tom was explaining? Unless you disagree with that idea that this novelty is worn off and things have to change. And Deckard, this one's to you, please.
I think you can hear me now, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay. Thank you. Yeah, I think Tom, what you said before, I can go along with a lot of things that you said. Where does it shift to? I think ultimately games need to be fun, and I mean that sounds so stupid to mention that even, but I think that wasn't really given in the things we've seen before. We have in our area we have a game development association, a very small one. They're making games, and like we showed them like the current state of where people like earned last year what they did, and they were. I was really embarrassed showing them that because they were not games. It was like masked DeFi stuff like that. That's where the people came from. That's where the investors came from. That's where the people that had wallets came from. They knew how to like put stuff from this liquidity pool to this liquidity pool, and it's kind of the narratives they knew. And then we kind of put this gaming cloak onto some of these and called it a game in many cases. And often sometimes their mechanics got a bit deeper and so on. So I think like switching to something that is comparable to an actual game is actually a shift that it has to go really attract more people to it, because like if you lead the traditional media, people are not too fond of like classic Web2 games of what's happening in Web3. Like we really need to convince them that it's something better going on, and I think we can only convince them if we have something. We have a clear narrative where we show them there is something. I mean, I'm not saying like all of us should be a AAA game studio and make like the best 3D shooter or whatever, but taking things that work or game loops that work, we don't need to like disrupt that as well if we already disrupt ownership. But I think we really need to shift to something where we show the players that, or we show people that, hey, you've bought a skin in Fortnite. You're doing this because you wanna fit in socially. You wanna show that you wanna just show your personalization. You're just like show that you're aligned with the game and the character, and you show that. But how much better would that be if you would own that and if you'd carry that around and eventually even have that across games and across all of that? How much better would that be, right? And for this, I think there is the Kano product metrics. I don't know if you guys know it, but there is like this basic need what products need, and then you have the features in the products that make the product stand out. But if you don't, basically the model says if you don't have the basics right, no one will notice even the peak features. Like for example, cool ownership concept, because the game and the basic is thought in itself, and that's why I think it has to shift to a model where fun is priority number one. At least like if we just compare ourselves to traditional web games, and the rest is then and then the concepts are wrapped into that. Because I don't think we need to disrupt core gaming loops. They are pretty well tested and good, and the dopamine hits and everything. And we need to leverage them and include what we know from Web3.
Awesome, great. So I get Davy Jones. Any insight from you on this on shifting go-to-market strategies and some of the feedback that Deckard and Tom gave?
Well, yeah, I think they're both pretty much spot on. To be honest, I agree with nearly everything. We all agree sort of that the core concept has to be fun first, basically, because it's the main thing you play games to have fun. How you disrupt that, Deckard mentioned ownership, which is one way to do it. You can decide that, okay, we're going to try and flip gaming loops on the head if you want, but I think we're in a position at the moment where the closer you align to Web2 initially is sort of what will gain the traction potentially with new gamers and people who are trying to potentially transition to Web3. We need to give them a bit of a gateway. So keeping it as close to Web2 with Web3 elements is probably the easiest way to do it. Marketing and getting new players at the moment is sort of tough across the Web3 ecosystem. The first wave of Web3 games that came out were like Decker sort of said, they focus much more on the DeFi side of it and the gaming side of it, which is fine for crypto natives, but for non-crypto natives, it's a really tough sell because it's just so much complexity. Going to market now, and I've seen this with a lot of other projects I've talked to, they're just not going to market right now because the effort and the cost that you'll put into it is not going to receive the boost it would when the whole ecosystem's in a better place. So trying to start now just isn't worth the risk reward in my opinion. What it does do for projects that have launched already, or even ones that are still in development, is carry on building your base products, your current user base, try and retain them and build stuff for them. It may not attract anybody new, as long as your core community is still having fun at this part of the market, you've got a really good chance when the new market sort of comes around that they can see you've been operating for however many years, core community is still there and enjoying it, and that when the right time to market appears, that basically provides your marketing for you. So a lot of anything that's come out recently has really been built on hype, except for a few exceptions. So going to market, you've got to either wait and be patient for the right time, or be able to generate so much hype that the product can sort of launch itself basically.
I agree. I think, if I may, that one of the coolest things of the blockchain ecosystem and also the Patreon ecosystem is the ability to transact in a different way on things and rethink how the money works, and that's also part of what Bitcoin was for. But this type of logic attract some kind of people that were more interested in earnings and quick earnings than long-term viability of a business and to build something, both on the product side and on the user side. And so I think that for the next future, the whole ecosystem should transit from address this type of audience, and this of a niche audience. I will say also that it's still, crypto and blockchain ecosystem is still a niche if you look at a bigger picture, and try to address this new technology and to find real business purposes for the masses. And this is an endeavor, and it's not easy, because there are on a side still architectural works that needs to be done in order to achieve this broader market. And on the other end, it needs to shift the way the marketing and the communication from the development and the product side as on the market. This is what I will add.
Yeah, that's good, and it leads up really well into my next question, because you mentioned niche, and you guys were talking about asset ownership, and so if you think from a more macro, holistic view of gaming, not just Web3, I don't know if you guys the Starfield event from Bethesda, and it's this like big AAA universe that they built, and big AAA game, and it really looked fantastic. So I guess my next question is, is Web3 ever gonna build like these big AAA type games? Is it gonna make inroads into AAA, or is it just gonna be like a separate niche gaming market, similar to like mobile? It has its own gaming market. I guess Josh, let's bring you into the conversation. What are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, so I think like it's definitely a matter of when and not if AAA game studios start coming into crypto. I don't know if that's happening right now, but maybe it is behind closed doors. But it will happen in the future, especially as other people have mentioned, the technology gets to the point where user interactions are seamless, and people are all of the complexity is abstracted away from the users, and just the benefits they get to experience. So I'm sure we'll imagine like a perfect world in which the blockchain trilemma is solved, and I think the technology will eventually get to that point. And let's imagine as well that the crypto user experience doesn't absolutely suck. Then there'd be no reason for Web3 games and Web2 games to not converge into one singular platform. Until that point, I think it will be like a siloed ecosystem, and there will be Web3 specific games and Web2 specific games, and it will continue up until the technology reaches a point where it allows the two to converge.
Awesome. And you mentioned the Web3 trilemma. Would you mind, or anyone just jumping in, explaining to the audience what that trilemma is?
Yeah, so the blockchain trilemma is scalability, security, and decentralization. You can have two, but you can't have three. So that's the problem of blockchains, and why some are faster than others, but will be more centralized, and some are much slower, like Bitcoin, but are very decentralized. Yeah, that's the problem.
Yeah, and it's what you said was really, really good in that like, I guess, you know, at some point you have to abstract some of the technicalities of Web3 if it's going to make inroads. Like, you know, the AAA gamer, I don't think necessarily cares about creating a wallet and you know, maintaining their assets in a you know, secure, safe, you know, hardware wallet or whatever it may be. But Deckard, you want to jump in and offer some of your views on this topic?
Yeah, maybe. I'm not sure if that's controversial or not, but maybe we also take the Web3 too much as a kind of a driver on its own. So maybe it also is just one enabling technology for a new generation of AAA games, because it just feeds one part of ownership and one part of thing into what's already existing. So I'm not sure if like 10 years down the road we'll look at this and say, oh, this is a Web2 or this is a Web3 game. But this is rather something that, if it gets big, it comes naturally to everything that is there and to the FIFA packs that are there, to the, like, if you have bragging rights and it's not on chain, maybe people will automatically say that that's not a game at all. I don't know if we have these labels anymore then. So it's pretty interesting how that will turn out. I have no clue, but I'll think the labels we give now won't be relevant tomorrow.
Yeah, thanks. So let me shift gears a little bit into NFTs and the metaverse. I mean, NFTs are pretty fundamental in most games available in the Web3 sphere. So I guess let's think, what is the most important thing about incorporating NFTs into the gameplay side? So how do NFTs really become useful in a Web3 game? And Josh, I'll throw this one to you, please.
Yeah, so sure. I think what ZooDAO focused on our project is being able to serve the normal NFTs, the ERC-721s, which don't have that inherent, you know, technological upgrade that the Remark NFT 2.0 standard might have. So I think creating universal solutions like that will be quite good, a good move going into the future, where your NFT can be used in many different applications. And then from a strictly gaming perspective, I think what Evrloot is doing is absolutely heading in the right direction with NFTs that can own other NFTs. That makes it extends far beyond current ERC-721 PFPs and allows this upgrade, which is necessary for gaming, essentially. So yeah, that's all I have to say on that.
Thanks. So Deckard, I'd like to get your input on this, but also if you could kind of talk about any lessons learned that your team has had in incorporating NFTs into gameplay.
Sure. The first question is quite a big one, I think. Like, what's the most important thing when incorporating it?
Deckard is.
Can you hear me?
Disconnected. Okay. Well,
no.
let's
No, I can.
I can hear him.
You can hear me. Okay.
I can hear you as well.
Good. Okay. I just said it's a big question. Like, what's the most important
Deckard,
NFTs?
please jump in.
So let me try to. For example, they're
Davy Jones.
Jim. Deckard is. I think you are out of sync. We can hear him pretty well, and probably you are late on his conversation.
Oh, okay. Strange. I can't actually hear.
That's strange.
The stream is unable to connect.
Yeah.
We'll
Awesome.
let you know when
Thanks.
it's finished, fellas.
Okay.
Right.
So I have to actually answer you then, and you have to convey. No. So I think what's important with NFTs is integrating. There are a lot of different gaming aspects where we can do that. Like, for example, if I always look at how have games done it in the past, like, for example, World of Warcraft, you have at some points we have common archetypes that we always see in games. For example, we see in more and more games, we see that you you reach certain goals and then you can collect these rewards. I'm lacking the name, so you have to like collect, like you visit all of the map and then you receive this. Anyone knows the name, what I'm talking about. There is
Achievements.
Thank you very much. You have these achievements. So achievements is something that goes perfectly for me with NFTs, because like I'm the explorer. I did this, so I can hold this NFT, and this was hard to get, right? I have that one. I earned the bragging rights. And I mean, if you play Diablo 4 at the moment, for example, you have these achievements and you get a title of player. So you can call yourself Stupid Goat because you got achievement A, and that gave you the opportunity to call yourself Goat, right? So, I mean, bragging rights on the internet are real and they're monetizable and they work. We've seen that over and over again from RuneScape to whatever. It just works. So this is a very good thing to use NFTs in game for. And there is an immense amount of applications, achievements being one of them. On the other hand, I see that like progression, like every game, somehow games in the loop are always some carrot on a stick thing, and it's harder, and you have to do choices to reach that carrot, and there are dopamine hits that bring you closer or reaching that step, and these steps towards getting to that. And if you have the opportunity, for example, like this is where, for example, soulbound NFTs can come in, that you can bind to a character that it not necessarily be sellable. Because, for example, would I want the skills on my character be just transferable? Yeah, then I would go into the pay to win genre of games, which many of like the old kind of gamers, maybe not the mobile gamers, but the old style gamers hate. They don't want to pay to progress, right? So we can use also NFTs in a way where they're really soul bound, and it's not everything is about sales and marketing it and trying to get the price up. It can also be markers that help you carry your process across on your character. Obviously, your character would then have a badge like I'm an expert fisherman because I have this and that experience on me, and that could make it more valuable. But you couldn't trade the experience itself because it's so bound to the character then. So I think this is just what we are trying to do, and I think this is just the peak of the iceberg. There is just there's so much more we can do, and you asked about lessons learned. Yeah, I think the lesson we have from, we had 200 players at the peak per day, so it's not the biggest experiment that we had, but from our experience, it works. Like people really start to identify with what character they have, even though we have them super simple clothed, and some even looked quite similar and so on. So we're bringing out soon something new, but people started to identify with what they have, and it kind of worked when hooking that NFT as a center into the gameplay, because it attaches people even stronger to the game. And we see it with releases like World of Warcraft Classic or Diablo or Elden Ring. People sometimes need a motivational hit to get into this hype mode, because like if no one plays the game, it also feels strange to progress something that's like a ghost town. So everyone loves playing Diablo right now because the friend also already has a level X character. So I might also get one, so I'm more motivated. And NFTs themselves for me are one big goal of increasing that motivation, because you also have, in this case, also financial, an incentive to align with the game and to align with the motivation of the game and to engage with the community and the developers with the game. And that helps us as developers immensely to have NFTs there, because players are here. They're here to stay, and in most of the cases, and they have some kind of investment, but it definitely helps us as community building and community building mechanics.
Yeah, I will also add that they can also link the digital world of a game to a physical one, for example, or it would be the case, I don't know, for transition to an event held so the Comic-Con, and translate your achievement and milestone in badges to the entrance, and to characterize your persona and so on. Just a silly example pop of my mind, but again, the possibilities are a lot.
Awesome. And I like that, community building as a tool for building community. And we'll talk a bit more about community a little bit later. But Deckard, I can't hear you again. Apologies for that. The hotel Wi-Fi, some of the drawbacks. But Davy Jones, if I could just get your input, because I know DPS NFTs would make a big part of you guys' game. So what's your thoughts on that?
Yeah, I think again a lot of stuff the guy said makes sense. What I would say is to Deckard's point about like experience and levels etc. being attached to a character, but that might not be saleable. Well, I could easily see another team saying, well, actually, we want to build that into a product, because if you have some players who don't have as much time to play as other players, but they want to do a certain bit of content with their friends that do have the time potentially to get to there, then having an option to buy an asset that sort of gets them to the level, even if not in skill, that is something that some people may want, and games may like to do it that route. So it just sort of shows how the market can splinter over such a simple concept of whether skills and experience is transferable or not, and there'll be two different markets for those games. Rather than having to go to like a black market to buy a RuneScape character which may get banned, it's there saying, look, it's your character. If you want to sell it, you can sell it. So I think that's just another cool example of like how Web3 can change things a little bit. Around sort of the NFT ownership, I completely agree with Deckard that NFT ownership, especially in the gaming environment, seems to build a stronger relationship with your character due to the fact that it's owned by you. And we've seen in our Discord people who have high-skilled pirates that are really successful. They talk about them and they won't ever consider selling them because they're their character that makes all the progress for them. I think you wouldn't, without getting too much into the financials, like the phrase, something matters more when there's money on it, I think applies to a lot of NFTs, is that the bond is stronger because the asset is worth something to you mentally and potentially with value. But I think one of the things we've learned sort of from when we started to now is that not everything needs to be an NFT. Now, with us being an on-chain game, it makes sense for everything to be an NFT because we want it to be as decentralized as possible and reduce a single point of failure as much as possible. But as we shift into more real-time gameplay, well, some of these assets that fall into those games, well, they don't need to be on-chain really. Let's say you get some wood or some cannonballs, whatever it is, on the off-chain game. Well, if you want to move those on-chain, you might convert them to gold in the game, and then that's exported to chain. So we keep some assets on-chain, some assets off-chain to give that better, more concise gameplay feel to it. You're not signing a transaction every 2 minutes, and obviously you don't get the fees in with it. I think that is one of the main lessons we've learned. I think the other is probably that reduce your goals from when you start. The ambitiousness of many projects is what sees them fail. They have such a high goal, they don't realise the cost, the time it'll take to develop. And then by the time you actually get to where you want to be, you may have no money left to finance the product, or the people who were your community have basically lost faith that you'll never get there. And I think they're the sort of the small lessons that we have in the ecosystem for how long it's been running, because Play to Earn games are probably 2 years old, and NFT games are probably 2 years old. So there is no major lesson to have learned yet because new ones are being made all the time. So there is no standard form on what a Web3 game should look like.
It's definitely an evolving marketplace, isn't it? And you made me think about NFTs and the concept of having like generational hand-downs of NFTs as time progresses, and it's going to be really, really interesting. But so I mean, being that we're in our infancy of Web3 gaming, I guess it's kind of hard to speculate, but Tom, I'm going to ask you, like, where do you think Web3 gaming goes now post NFTs? Because as Davey was saying, NFTs make a fundamental part. They don't have to be everything, but they make a core part of it. So where does Web3 move on from NFTs, Tom?
Good question, and obviously I do not have an answer. I just I can only imagine, and I connect with what I was saying at the beginning of the conversation. So surely the direction is dictated by, strictly speaking, of gaming, of what the gamers expect and wants to experience with NFTs and technologies, and to give them value and good time. And yeah, I think, to summarize, it's portability, surely something that I can foresee will be interesting. And so you can translate your assets to different games. It could be both bring your character as it is and adapt in some way, or just drop and sell your assets and buy new one from others. And on the other end, it could be also about a deeper a deeper economy and a deeper and deeper mechanics that today it's hard to recreate something that is for say an open market, and given there's many difficulties in that, and NFTs and cryptos may help in so. And it would be interesting to see an experiment with a large scale examples. um, I think, and also I think the connection with other part of the digital ecosystem between games and assets would be interesting to explore.
Awesome, yeah, and fully appreciate it. It's hard to speculate. I mean, you guys are driving the evolution of Web3 gaming with your team, so it's kind of hard to speculate where it's going when you're still driving the bus and trying to take it somewhere. So appreciate that's not the easiest question to respond to. So let's talk a bit about the metaverse. So I think right after Facebook renamed their company, everything started cooling around metaverse, and I don't think it's going to go away. I don't think many people do. It's like big data. There was big hype around the term big data. It cooled, but big data is really valuable right now, and I think the metaverse is going to do something similar. But Josh, if I could ask you, what do you think did happen to the metaverse that caused it to cool, that it never really lived up to aspirations?
Yeah, so I suppose it's the same as crypto. Like, I'm sure some of us have been here for a few cycles now, and we're probably going to be getting text messages from our relatives soon enough saying, "Is crypto the future? Is it?" Because the price is moving up and everyone's excited again. And of course, we'll say, "Yes, it is the future." And it's the same as the metaverse. The metaverse narrative was huge. It was like, "Is the metaverse the future? We're all going to be plugging into Ready Player One now." And the truth is that yes, it's probably a major part of the future, but we're not at the future yet. We're at the kind of, player doesn't even have his controller part of Ready Player One. That's where we are right now. So I think that, yes, it's going to be a huge narrative in the future. And we've seen that with the new Apple device, how that might tie into it. And we're going to see the interconnectedness of all of these games being built, where you can walk around and play your different games in various different parts of the metaverse. So all of that is ahead of us. But right now, I would assume it's the technology not being quite up to where the hype is, or was at least.
Cool. Tom, you agree with that?
Totally agree. I think as a crypto, it's new technology, new ideas, and before it reached the bigger audience, it should be contained and confined to the professionals who developed it, because otherwise, as we see, it translates in a different kind of conversation, and the pass me the word, the illiterate audience who don't understand really the technology and the progression of technology take it as, oh, this is the metaverse. Now we all live in Ready Player One, and it look like this. No, it's a transition, it's an idea, and we have to figure it out. And eventually, we will come up with something cool and something useful and something nice. I was speculating a couple of days ago about what the metaverse will be and all this idea. Briefly after Apple launch of their VR headset, and incredible piece of machinery, by the way. And what I think is that I'm not that sure that in the end people will want to live in a metaverse. What I think, and the transition it's making in the metaverse world, it's more added to professional as it should be. So having tools for example, operate a patient where a surgeon can operate a patient through robotics and VR. That would be an implementation, or learning through visuals and touching things with a more realistic experience. That sure it's another direction. And in the end, maybe I see the problem with VR, with the headset, physical headset for a broader audience. And fast forward 10, 15, 20, 50 year, maybe the idea will be to fuse two segments of technology. One is the VR and AR, and the other one is the implants that in the brain implants for control interface with technology that I forgot the name the Elon Musk company is bringing on, and I'm sure others, and fuse these two branches in one. And so what will happen is that I don't have anything in my upon me on my head. My brain is just tricked to see what what is compute I should be seeing, and I have control over these things, and I can augment my reality or immerse in a new reality. And this would be kind of cool. And it could take the stage for a broader audience, because it's easier to use, and it's I think it would be cool.
Yeah, so straight up cyberpunk style. That's interesting. Hopefully, we're still a bit a ways from that.
In a sense, I conclude saying that there is this strange behavior and mechanism where science fictions blend with reality, because someone wrote about it, and then someone else developed the idea, and we share this imaginary future world built upon narratives, basically. And with time it gets real because people build this. It's a strange phenomenon.
Deckard, what are your thoughts? Do you agree with Tom and Josh, or what do you think? Do you think the metaverse is going to have another push coming back to us?
Yeah, I think for me again, my thought is that it's about labels and what is, like, we heard about the augmented reality. I think that's something I also totally agree on. I think if there is a use case where this is embedded, obviously not every new innovation, especially disruptive stuff, needs a problem to solve, but sometimes I feel like we're in the hype curve very early. But if I envision a future where, for example, you run around with augmented reality glasses, and I don't know, there is some kind of signing possibility that if you have been on Mount Everest, that you can have mint this NFT, and you show that off, and you walk around across the street, and someone notices your top 3 achievements that you have on your shoulder, and there is Mount Everest in here, and you talk to that guy because you want to do that achievement. I mean, this could be a thing, but will we call that a metaverse then, or is that embedded into more of a thing? So what's the headline here, if I have that? So I'm a bit hesitant with the word metaverse, because I think there is a lot of technical drive or technological push behind that, and it's very early on the Gartner hype cycle. So we see a lot of these technologies, they get blended into other things, and we call them differently later, but at the end it will be exactly that. So I could envision that people hunt for achievements in real life as they do in World of Warcraft now, and say, I don't know, I wrestled a sumo ringer in Japan, and that's my #1 achievement. So talk to me about this. I'm sitting here alone with a coffee. But I'm not sure if we will call that metaverse.
Yeah, interesting. That's that point. With any nascent technology, the definitions are always changing and defined differently depending on who you talk to. So maybe let's just round off this metaverse conversation to you, Davey. So So it was mentioned about this Apple headset, their $3,500 Apple VR or augmented reality headset. Do you think that's going to help generate some more movements into metaverse, or do you think it's just going to be a hype thing for a week and disappear?
The short answer is no. Basically, the pricing isn't priced for mass market, so it's not really going to shift anything on the scales as far as I can see it. It's not focused on gaming either, or sort of metaverse at the moment. But if it introduces more people into the world of AR, which seems to me like a good bridge between obviously the real life and sort of augmented or metaverse style components to it, it could be what people need to take a look at sort of a fully VR world more seriously. At a certain point, you have to get people to take a risk on it and investigate the situation. So having something that's focused on productivity initially from a reputable company, it can't damage the metaverse push, but it's probably a baby step on the route to anything more serious.
Yeah, good points for sure. So let's shift gears a bit again. Let's talk about community building and community in your games. I know, Deckard, you brought up community a little bit earlier, and that's a large part of what makes some of these games successful. The communities you build around them. So all of you have experience in building communities. So Deckard, let me ask you first. What are the best ways that you've seen for growing your community around your game?
I can only tell you, I think, how to start a nucleus that I believe that will work to scale, but I can't prove it to you yet because we're not reached the masses and have 400,000 organic followers on Twitter. But I truly believe that this will work. And what our strategy is that we really have a bunch of very motivated evangelists that are kind of our core players that we let in very early with our game, and that we give the ability to participate. So we're a team of 9 people, and I think 6 people were recruited out of Discord directly because these were the very engaged people that went in and said like, "Hey, I can draw weapons." I was like, "Okay, let me see." And this is how Travis got on the team. And we, yeah, I think like we tried community building. We also thought about like doing marketing campaigns and spending money on this. But I think like the most important thing is the word of mouth of a few people that really enjoy what you're doing, and giving them something that they can enjoy and update them and keep them in the loop. And sometimes, I'd listen to them as well, obviously. But the main thing for me is really we want to start small with a small base of people that really can be the word of mouth into different communities and say, "Hey, I really like this game," and start from there. So we've not done really big marketing concept. At some point, I think you need to push across that, and obviously we're looking into ways of that. But yeah, I truly believe that you need this strong community first, and then scale from there.
That's awesome. Yeah, and I think that's a phenomenon special to Web3 in that you see a lot of teams draw from the amazing talent pool of their communities when they need to expand and they need to grow. So it's great that you guys were able to do that. And I guess you're touching on more organic grassroots growth, word of mouth, getting people talking to their peers and their friends. So Josh, what are some tips that you could share with the audience on getting that organic grassroots growth?
Yeah, so I completely agree with everything Deckard said, and I also completely agree with everything that Davy Jones said earlier on about now not being like the optimal time to like really push towards growth, even if it's grassroots. But I think the focus should now be on your current community, to spend time with them, to prove that you're there to build, and this will have a compounding effect as we enter an area of the market where new market entrants or new participants are coming into Web3, and then through your grassroots efforts, your community will spread that to their friends, to their family. They'll say that this project built through this bear market, and now look at it, So this is I think really important. And again, as Deckard said, like listen to your community. If something that everyone doesn't like in your application or game, then change it. If something's unclear, then make it more clear and prove that you're there for them as much as they're there for you. So yeah, I think that's everything.
And mystery is a big component.
Mystery, a little bit of mystery, yeah.
Can you expand on that a little bit for the audience? How do you create mystery? How do you create mystery to your community?
I was always the team always said you're spoiling too much. Like we have so much cool stuff planned, but you can just like drop a little pieces of them. And I said, come on, we're done with it. Like we can do it. But I saw that people really enjoyed like picking up the breadcrumbs and like finding the way to what we're really releasing. And I saw that this got part of the game somehow as well, to solve riddles, to not everyone, of course, but the people very much involved. They really, especially at the start, once we had small gadgets that on the website you had to click this thing that was running by, and the first one could put his wallet in, and then got a cat, which now forms a guild in the game, and so on and so on. So I think this mystery and not knowing what this is it something big, is it something small, and the tension you create with that, and having people to like forced to make a decision if that's worth their time or not, is something that I see creates engagement, and engagement keeps community alive.
Awesome.
I'd just like to throw in there as well that a lot of the bigger projects that you end up working on, the ones that take time, are generally not updates that you can sort of share with the community, because they don't really care if you've got a stack too deep error in one of your contracts which you need to fix. But by dropping breadcrumbs of your progress, they can at least see that you are still working on something. You're not just sat in your office going, yeah, I'll be ready when it's ready. So I think it's a key tool of keeping them excited about what's coming while keeping them track of the progress of the actual investment, like the project they're investing in.
Interesting. I guess that's another aspect of Web3 in general, in that there's always constant visibility of what's going on. So silence is taken for sometimes not doing anything, which really isn't usually the truth. But Deckard, let me stick with you on picture yourself as a community member or a new joiner to the community. They jump into your Discord and they want to get involved. What would you say is what can they do to make the most impact in your own community?
The most impact if they can join the team, definitely. So if they ask me, can I draw weapons for you, like Travis did? If you come to the Discord, you'll see that it's you got a warm welcome, and like everyone who engages, and it looks like people discuss NFTs and look like what's on the market right now, or the next step, especially when missions are going on. They talk about their results. So, oh, look, I got that fish this night. So I got this super rare shark, and they post it. So people really enjoy sharing, as I see in the chat, share their experiences there. So if you just come here and you like the game and you share the experience, that's already a huge plus for the community, because we have this word that our Discord for now is our chat. Like, we're thinking about how we do that in the future. But if you engage, just like show what happened to you, and people, then from this we see trades going on. Someone says like, oh, you got that fish, I'm going to give you this amount of wood for it because I need it for my collection, and then I have my board complete, and so people start like trading, for example. And so it's easy. Join our Discord, and you'll see it. And we've been at a downtime for some time because of a situation on Kusama with the fees, but we're on the way to start on Moonbeam now up again with the missions, and then I expect a lot more going on in our Discord again. So it has been a bit quiet because we had to move everything to smart contracts, but it's coming up again. So just engage with the community. I think there is no secret recipe, and if you're interested in the game as a whole to contribute, we're always actively searching for people to contribute.
Awesome. And Davy Jones, DPS? How does someone get recognized when they join your community?
Yes, I think it's probably the same with a lot of NFT projects. Really, it's that the more you're willing to ask questions and genuine questions, it's such an easy way to get involved, because the people that enjoy the game want to share it with other people. So the people are actively incentivized to get more people in anyway. So they're doing it because they want to share the experience with the people. So just being generally positive, or even if your character is not positive, that can still even work as part of the community, because you need different characters in your community. But as long as you basically, keep to solid people who are not actively aggressive, disruptive, or whatever, then you're gonna make a reputation for yourself in the Discord, especially in these sort of small style communities.
Nice. And Josh, you wanna round out this question with how you think your new joiners can be most impactful?
Yeah, so I echo what the guys said. Just engaging and asking questions and being inquisitive is huge, especially like in a poor market condition. It's really amazing to see in our own community. We're super lucky. We've got amazing people who ask amazing, challenging questions. They give us excellent feedback on our DApp and our application, which has, given us what we need essentially to propel it to the V1, which we're currently at the V0. So yeah, just engage as much as possible, and we'll engage with you, and you'll become part of the family.
Cool, that's great, and I'm sure the audience appreciates that. So thinking about building these communities, I imagine you want to reach as many people as possible to grow your games, and that plays into scalability and interoperability a bit, of deployment, not just to one chain, but to multiple chains. So if we take a little bit of a deep dive into some of the technological aspects of that. I think most of us on this call are completely bought into the vision of how Moonbeam enables cross-chain communication. But what does that actually mean to you guys in terms of interoperability? So Josh, let me get your input on that, please.
Yeah, so we're currently using Layer 0 for our token bridge. We're using Wormhole for our NFT bridge, and we're using Axelar through Squid for cross-chain swaps. So it makes it, and all of this is within the DApp, so it makes it so users coming from Ethereum can very, very easily, or like as easily as possible, participate in a Moonbeam NFT battle, which is really, really cool. And then in terms of like what we're looking forward to with Moonbeam specifically, it's the XCM v3 NFT side of things. So that will allow us to very seamlessly tap into different parachains and their NFT communities, and then bring them to battles on Moonbeam as well. So kind of Moonbeam is the kind of hub where everything happens.
Awesome. That's really great. You're looking to expand out and reach as many new players as possible. So I guess, so Davy Jones, so in terms of Web3 and the future, in terms of improving the gaming experience, I think Web3 definitely has aspects of it that are very different to Web 2. So how do you improve gameplay experience based on the fact that Web 3 just does things different, like times for transactions to complete and for the chain to move forward? What are your views on that?
So for gaming specifically, I feel like anything that breaks the immersive gameplay experience should be reduced to as little as possible. When you start a game of Counter-Strike, you do not want to have to sign a transaction every time you buy a weapon or a grenade or whatever it ends up being. So it ruins it completely, unless it's designed to do that, basically, which it can be. So things that will improve it in future, especially for games that need a lot of transactions very quickly. Moving to probably more centralized, low-cost chains. I don't think decentralization will mean that much for real-time gamers. They're used to everything being centralized anyway, so even if some of it's slightly decentralized, that's a step in the right direction. Session keys are something that we've looked into or are looking into. where potentially you can reduce the overall number of signings to sort of 1 or 2, and you sort of open a game window, and as long as you're playing, you don't have to sign anything. You can just execute the transactions and they'll sign themselves. So that's another way potentially to keep that immersiveness. And for me, they're the two main issues are breaking the experience and having to sign and pay for transactions. So the more you can reduce them, the better experience players are going to have. And that's the key goal.
Awesome.
Really.
Yeah. So that's really good. It's apparent you've definitely done some thought into this. And so, with any nascent technology, there are going to be growing pains, right? Like, recently there was this, Zen crypto was like spamming transactions on the chain, and the chains have to adjust and they have to shift gears when something comes up, just by the fact that it is a nascent technology. So how do you, as a game developer, how do you adapt and adjust, keeping in mind that things aren't always going to go exactly as planned, especially in Web3?
Yeah, it's a really tough question, because I think we've all seen the market and the technology within the market can change from month to month, never mind 6 months or years, which it might be in the standard gaming industry. You might get a new graphics card or ray tracing or whatever it ends up being, and you get years to basically build that into what you want to do. Whereas you start building something smart contract based, 2 months later, once you've deployed, it just might be absolute trash, and there's nothing you can do about that. So, especially regarding the Moonbeam gas fees, is they were fine, they were always fine, and all of a sudden they weren't fine. But depending on where you are in your deployment process, it's, well, what can we do to adapt? Like, we've got sort of 25 contracts all deployed. If we wanted to change all those contracts, it's probably 6 to 12 months worth of work and $500,000 in development costs. It's like, well, at this point, there is no adapting to be done. So until we get the ecosystems evolved into a much more mature state, you've just got to go with what's right, what's best practice at the time, and go for it. 'Cause if you don't, you'll never release anything. You'll just be about to, something will change, and then you'll have to redo it. And it just really is hard to design for unseen events like the Zen thing. So when we are looking to hire, our next hire probably going to be a fortune teller to help us avoid some of those in future.
Yeah, it gives agility and a new feeling, right? Have to be incredibly agile to adjust to these things, but I guess that's the nature of all of this stuff, right? Everyone on this call, all of you guys are kind of leaders in this Web3 gaming sphere. So thanks for the feedback on that. So I'll just wrap up. We've got one question, and it's actually I think the perfect question to just run by all of you on the panel. So Justin asked us, he'd love to hear the strategic advantage and benefit each of your teams present from your project and what makes them unique. And then he's got the second part of the questions. He's asking, what's the biggest challenge or barrier for your project right now? So strategic advantage, biggest challenge or barrier right now. So let's just run it through the way we did the introduction. So Tom, we'll start with you, and then we'll go Davy Jones, Josh, and Deckard. So Tom, over to you.
Sure. So following the line of the conversation, what we are doing with Daily Lab and Fanta King for Dunkest is to open up to the broader audience to the new blockchain ecosystem. We Fanta King develop fantasy game. They're really strong on, for example, basketball. They run the official fantasy basketball game for the EuroLeague. Dunkest is one of the biggest fantasy basketball game in Europe for the NBA. For the NBA league, and we released a couple of months ago the MVP for this card game based on NFTs, and based on this card, we are building up for the upcoming season a new game mode, which is the event mode, and from there we will start developing an open ecosystem for exchange assets and card, and we will enrich all the Fanta game ecosystem. And basically, what we want to do is to fuse the classic mechanics. I don't know if you're familiar with the draft mode and the classic mode, so the classic fantasy game mode with the new NFT based and blockchain inspired game mode, and create an ecosystem where a game ecosystem where the complexity of the blockchain world is abstracted away from the end user. And this is because so the transactional response thread, it's very easy to get along and start playing, and because the idea is to address the already present fantasy world ecosystem, no, and the fan base of Fanta King Games, which counts 300,000 people, right, active user right now. And so we want to increase that with the class Web2 per se and the Web3 gaming experiences. And what we are doing, the struggle, if you want to say, or the pain points, is to be quicker on the go-to-market and user acquisition, and so develop quick development and user acquisition, and also prospect acquisition. For example, top leagues for say the Serie A or La Liga, or those kind of prospects, and bring them a final product which is up to date with the expectation of the fan base and the user. Most of the game feels old, and not only up to date, but in a kind of sense futuristic. So bring new mechanics, new game mode that evolved from what Sorare did.
Great.
I will see.
Thanks for that. Awesome. Thanks for that, Tom. So Davy Jones, DApp Pirate Society, strategic advantage and benefit that makes your project unique, and biggest challenge or barrier you guys are facing right now.
Yes, I suppose the strategic advantage we have is that we have a lot of our stuff already deployed. So we've got to the stage in our project where the main goals we said we were going to achieve have been achieved. We have an NFT lending system, we have the balloon auctions, the different NFTs, we have the on-chain game, and we have a basic metaverse and another secret project, which I can't describe. And that seems to be our advantage. That what we think, what makes us unique, is just the level of stuff we already have available. That is, we don't see many other projects, especially on sort of chains like Moonbeam and the other chains we're on, that have their own custom solutions for all these different products to give players different ways to play the game. And the biggest sort of barrier and challenge for us right now is, I suspect it's the same for a lot of teams, making sure that you have enough funding to carry on going, to keep building, to keep your community engaged through what is a tough period right now. And some of the stuff we're doing behind the scenes now is aiming to fill sort of the recurring revenue idea from outside the community. And we think that will be the thing that sets us apart in the coming months and years.
Awesome, and I like that you dropped in a bit of mystery there with your announcement of a secret coming up. So that's awesome. So Josh from ZooDAO, over to you. Strategic advantage. What makes your project unique, and biggest challenge or barrier, please?
Yeah, so I think firstly, it's coming back to the problems that we're looking to solve again, and that's that people want more things to do with their NFTs. If their NFT has one use case, it might not be enough to sustain, community interest for long periods of time. So the more things that people can do with their NFTs, the stronger that NFT project is. So ZooDAO has this universal solution. I think we're the only universal solution to NFT utility in the market that can serve, in theory, any NFT. So it doesn't matter if it's a Bored Ape, or it doesn't matter if it's a 0.001 offshoot of the Azukis. It can have strong utility in ZooDAO. And the second advantage is the second problem, and that's that, people, the NFT boom really brought the masses into crypto, or they dipped their toes into this technology that we know is changing the world, but they're not exploring with Moonbeam. They're not going to other chains. They're not interacting with DeFi protocols, even though they potentially should be. So we abstract all that complexity away from the users and gamify their process of interacting with these lucrative protocols. So I think that's our two major advantages. And then the biggest challenge, I suppose, it's the, as Davey mentioned, it's the market conditions right now. They're not really favorable. So user acquisition is a lot harder, but we think where our technology is right now, we're in a really, really good position to onboard lots of people coming into the next cycle. So, yeah.
Okay, then
Awesome.
I'll go last.
Keep building, and you get the finals.
Yeah. Hopefully, I think your internet is doing funny things again. What's strategic advantage? So a lot of things have been said, but I want to say something. Normally, I don't focus on the technical side of things, but one big strategical advantage of ours is I think we're the poster child project for composable NFT and the usage of that. So I think there is, not to my knowledge, any project that really uses in an RPG style, if you imagine Diablo style equipping of a character, to have so much different utility for an NFT, owning other NFTs, having different resources. One example of that is we have just released home ownership in our main town. So for example, you get an NFT and this NFT has even 2 composable resources. What does that mean? Like you have one resource that describes the room inside of the house and one resource that describes the outside. And you can decorate both with child NFTs. And if you decorate the outside, it's visible for everyone on the town globally to see, for example. So like this NFT not just have like different resources on itself, but it really is embedded through on-chain mechanics, through a lot of things where we're trying to leverage that amazing technology that is Remark to a standard where we're really not talking about too much about the technology, but making it, as the other said, also seamless. And that's a barrier because, yeah, obviously signing so many transactions, and we can have much cool self-composed music as we want to have immersion. If, as Davey said, people have to sign a transaction every 10 seconds, that doesn't really, that's where we have to find a trade-off. And one other barrier, or I would say kind of a challenge that we're facing, because I think we found some solution, but it's always a trade-off, is having a game always involves like having new stuff come in. The carrot always needs to look fresh and tasty, that people would need to run through in a game. They want to achieve that goal, but on the other hand, in crypto, we're used to retain value on our old. So the stuff in our backpack needs to get more valuable, right? So you need to find a smart balance between these things of rewarding your OGs, but still make new game mechanics that make sense. So be it, for example, with disenchanting old items to make something new. So there are different ways how also Web2 games have done it. But this is something very interesting. For example, if we want to limit, and this is what we want to do, because the NFTs, for example, in our game are currently quite expensive to join. We want to lower the barrier for entry for players to make it really easy to start playing the game. But on the other hand, that would, if we do it in a not so good way, devalue our OG NFTs that definitely want to have not devalued because someone can now play for free. So we need to have a smart solution of that. And I think I love making these trade-offs and these decisions, but that's always something you have to really critically think about. And it's more work than I think sometimes designing a new game, because you have this ownership concept in the back, and it's great fun to do it, but it's requires a big amount of consideration oftentimes to find concepts that then reward these players and develop new drops and stuff for them that keeps their value. And then third and last, and this is what Davey said as well, and I'm happy you said it, because obviously financing of the team in times where times like these, it's a thing, and you don't want to like milk your community with sale after sale just to keep going. So this is always a consideration you're having, right? You're building for something big, and you have to to plan good, to have the steam to go on, because once it's grown from the stage of an enthusiast project, you have to finance all of this. And but yeah, good, in a good mood. And yeah, thank you for the discussion from my side.
That was great, and thanks for wrapping that up. What I really heard, was how do you maintain value for your community and these gamers who are so precious, which I guess is a topic for a whole nother discussion. But I'll just wrap things up, everyone. Thanks very much from myself to Dunkest, Evrloot, Damn Pirate Society, and ZooDAO. You guys really knowledgeable on all these topics. It's really been great to get your thoughts on all this. So from everyone who's joined on the web, appreciate you joining us, and hopefully we'll talk to you soon.
Thanks, guys. Thank you.
Cheers, everybody. Thank you. Bye.